This is Karaka. Now he's a scary little fellow who has just struck you with his Nen ability known as Judgment Chain, allowing him to issue you with a command. And he's going to give you a very simple request here, which is that if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the New World Review for regular Hunter x Hunter content uploaded straight into your YouTube feed. And if you don't, well then Karaka will punish you with a mild sense of heartburn for the remainder of your days. Choose wisely. Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga. And today it's time to examine the glorious world of Nen Users once more, because Hunter x Hunter is full of incredible specimens. Now just quickly before we begin, I do want to emphasize that this is a sequel video, and there is an original top 5 best Nen Users list on this channel, a link to which will be in the description below. And I point that out because if a Nen user that you love is not here today, then I would recommend checking out that list first, because chances are they have a home there. But as for some criteria regarding what makes a best Nen user, well that simply means an individual who has excelled in their particular practice of Nen in whatever field that just so happens to be. So very notably, this does not necessarily mean the strongest or most powerful Nen users, because strength and combat is only one facet of this wide world. And we are expanding our gaze to seek excellence and world-class usage in general. And I think that criteria will become very clear as we move forward. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Welcome to another edition of the top 5 best Nen users in Hunter x Hunter. Number 5. Razor. Kicking things off, we have everyone's favorite dodgeball enthusiast and ex-criminal turned game master, and Razor is a surprisingly undisputed force in this world, displaying a clear dominance in terms of Nen during the Greed Island arc, requiring a combination of Gon, Killua, Hisoka, Bisky, and many others just to defeat him within the bounds of a simple dodgeball match. So looking at raw power alone, you can certainly make the argument that Razor belongs here, but the funny thing is, that isn't even his greatest selling feature. As a natural emitter and game master of Greed Island, Razor is personally responsible for every mechanic within the game that requires emission usage, and that requires him to invest his aura into thousands upon thousands of cards, and as such it is Razor's personal aura that keeps this game going, which is a staggering fact because everything we saw of him in the dodgeball match theoretically only represents a fraction of his aura reserves, considering so much of it was invested simply into keeping Greed Island running. And yet with all of that in mind, he still has enough clout to imitate the large majority of the Phantom Troop, as well as comfortably engage in his 14 Devil's Heartsu, which is a nice creative summoning of Nen beasts that go to serve Razor's greater purpose in life, that purpose being deadly dodgeball. However, with that said, Razor is quite possibly one of the greatest slept on Nen masters in this world, hidden away on Greed Island flying under the radar, and it really does make you wonder how many more beings like this could exist in Hunter x Hunter. But for now, Razor is well and truly a force deserving of our opening spot. Number 4. Peto. Next up, we have simultaneously one of the most adorable yet sinister beings ever introduced in, let's say, all of media. And in addition to that, we also have a particularly dynamic specialist user of Nen. Now, in many ways, Peto was gifted their excellence in Nen, being born into the role of a royal guard and having effectively unlimited quantities of aura at their disposal. But where Peto really shines in comparison to the rest of the royal guards is how they put that to use, going on to develop an incredible array of Heartsu to suit very specific needs, and yet having the versatility to apply them to more desperate situations. Like for example, one of the moments burned into my mind is when Peto invoked Dr. Blythe to stop themselves mid-air after being struck by Netero, despite the fact that Dr. Blythe was an ability designed exclusively for healing and reconstruction. But Peto also managed to create a whole host of absurdly puppet-based abilities, to the point where they even crafted a method by which to puppeteer themselves, which can be seen in the Terpsichore Heartsu, in which a Nen ballerina takes control of Peto and forces their body to move beyond its natural limitations. So it's a very creative way to effectively achieve some sort of power-up, although it does come at a great physical cost to its user. But when discussing Terpsichore, we also need to bring up that Peto is one of the rare individuals in the series to engage in post-mortem Nen, as even after their death, Terpsichore continued to persist, manipulating Peto's corpse and even claiming one of adult Gon's arms. So Peto is, pretty wildly powerful in regards to Nen. But Peto is also another rare being whose utter dominance in the art form can be seen in its very basic applications, and probably the best example of this is Peto's N, which can reach further than any Nen master that we're aware of, and can remain active for days on end. So for some comparison, Xenozoldyck has famously stated that he could release an N with a 300-meter radius, although it would be a tiring technique to invoke, whereas Peto can create an N that is more than 6 times that radius and never have any fear of tiring. And in addition to that, Peto's N can also change shape, giving it ridiculous amounts of versatility. Add that to the fact that Peto can seemingly create whatever Heartsu they want on a whim, and you have easily one of the most dangerous yet superbly talented Nen users in all of Hunter x Hunter. Number 3. Kaimuki. Now here's one that may surprise a lot of you, as she is quite possibly the physically weakest character ever introduced in Hunter x Hunter, but an undeniable force in one particular area, that being the game of Gungi. Now very notably, Kaimuki is unaware that she is using Nen. She is an example of one of those unconscious athlete types who has invoked their aura naturally through whatever mechanism, which in Kaimuki's case is more than likely her profound belief that she can do nothing else in life but play Gungi. As a result, Kaimuki has even put a very dangerous condition on her Nen usage, which is that if she were to ever lose a game of Gungi, she would die. And once again, I have to stress that Kaimuki did not implement this with any technical understanding of what she was doing. It was pure desire, and it has given her unparalleled power to rapidly respond, incorporate, and innovate an endless stream of Gungi strategy, far beyond the mental capabilities of any human. But not only that, her mental prowess in this specific area was even above that of the most terrifyingly intelligent character in the series, being the Chimera and King Meruem. Meruem, despite obliterating champions of other games, was never able to overcome Kaimuki. Her unconscious use of Nen only ever fed off the stimuli provided by Meruem, and on each and every occasion, it rose to topple the king. And if you think about it in one way, Kaimuki is the only character in the series who was ever able to convincingly defeat Meruem in any way, shape, or form. And that certainly makes her one of the best Nen users in the series, whether she realizes it or not. Number 2. Karaka. Here it's quite possibly one of my greatest shames, as Karaka most certainly should have been on the original list, but we're here to make up for that today. Karaka is one of the most creative, efficient, and most wildly powerful Nen users to have ever existed, and he became that way in a comparatively minuscule amount of time compared to that of the great Nen masters of Hunter x Hunter. And a lot of this is the result of Karaka having a very clear goal in mind. His sole mission in life is to retrieve the eyes of the members of the Goat clan, as well as take revenge on those who performed their massacre, that being the Phantom Troop. And this drive and clarity has led Karaka down a very clear but dangerous path, developing a very particular set of skills, many of which are designed to have a compound effect on each other. So for example, the basis of Karaka's Nen supremacy is a Hatsu known as Emperor Time, which he can only activate as a specialist, because also Karaka is the only known character in the world who can switch between two different Nen affinities, being Conjuration and Specialization. But Emperor Time then goes on to allow him to maximize every other Nen affinity, making it nigh on impossible for an opponent to identify what affinity Karaka actually is, much less being able to deal with the slew of potent techniques that he can unleash. And the prime example I have of this would be Chain Jail, which combined with Judgment Chain allow Karaka to set a condition for himself, which is to only use Chain Jail on members of the Phantom Troop, or Karaka will be instantly killed. As a result though, members of the troop have no defense against this ability, even the more monstrous ones such as Uvogin. But one often forgotten about factor is that every other one of Karaka's techniques are free of this restriction, and furthermore, Karaka has the acute mentality to put them to use on a world-class scale. And just to take another example briefly, let's look at Dowsing Chain, which is pretty much designed to be a long-range attack. It's a classic ball and chain right to the noggin of any enemy. But Karaka is just so damn proficient in regards to Nen that he even figured out how to put this technique to use as a lie detector, which not only works in real life, but can also be used through video footage. And honestly, this brief explanation does not even begin to scratch the surface of what Karaka is capable of, and it only gets more and more insane as we proceed with the current arc in the manga. Although it should be said that he does certainly pay the price for this, as every second spent active in Emperor Time removes 1 hour of his overall lifespan. But in doing so, it allows him to become one of the most formidable presences within this entire series. And in closing, once again, nothing I can say in this short amount of time can even come close to doing Karaka justice in this discussion. He has a clear drive, leading to powerful high-risk, high-reward abilities, and a natural mind for mitigating the risk portion of that statement. So Karaka is a profoundly amazing Nen user, but with everything I've just said, it is still pretty hard to deny. Number 1. Jing Freaks. Ending this exploration, we have someone that I did bring up as a candidate last time, but ultimately I could not bring myself to include him, largely due to a lack of evidence regarding his abilities and their usage. But this time around, things are a bit different because we can no longer dismiss the information that we do have. And the thing about Jing is that he very much earns his place here through prestige alone. Jing is a highly respected member of the Hunter Association, having risen to the rank of a double-star hunter, and look, if he wasn't so lazy, he could have even been a triple-star hunter as well. And despite how widely disliked he is by the association at large, he was still able to earn a spot as a member of the Zodiacs. But the piece of information that people will most often bring up is a statement from Chairman Netero himself, who claimed that Jing was one of the top 5 best Nen users in the world, which is, word for word what I'm proposing to explore in this list. So by word of mouth alone, he does technically belong here. However, we do have some delicious morsels of actual evidence to examine as well. The first of which is simply that Jing is an absurdly talented Nen monster, that with a solid enough understanding of a particular ability, Jing is generally able to replicate said ability ability, which was demonstrated in regards to Leoria's ultrasound and remote punch Hatsu. And I'd just like to note that copying abilities is not Jing's personal Hatsu. It is just achieved through raw talent, which is kind of mind-boggling given everything we know about how difficult it is to implement Nen on even the most basic of levels. What's also interesting to think about is that we do not know Jing's natural Nen affinity, which could go towards explaining a lot of what he was if that was, say, a specialist. However, at the same time, if like his son, he is a natural enhancer, then that only makes his mastery of this art form that much more impressive. But for some more tangible evidence, we can also look at his skill in the art of pip play, a game in which one moves their aura about to perform some fun and fancy tricks. So you could consider it like a Nen form of cardistry or even gloving. And does anyone actually remember gloving? I feel like it's definitely a bit of a relic of the past at this stage. But back to something, I guess, mildly more relevant. Jing's skill in pip play was enough to astound even a self-proclaimed master of the game, so that's surely saying something. But with all of this in mind, it is very, very difficult to deny that Jing, as he has quite literally been stated to be, is one of the top 5 best Nen users in the series, and certainly does deserve his crown here today. But what do you guys think? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below or even join my Discord server. And if you're keen for some more Hunter x Hunter content, then please do check out some of my other videos and even subscribe to the channel for regular Hunter x Hunter glory delivered straight to your YouTube feed. But for now, this has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.